Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. It's been a while since I've been on here. It seems to be that we keep having these gaps in our relationship here, and I'm sorry about that. I promise to be more committed to the show going forward. Um, it seems like every time I come back on here, I'm talking about tough seasons and things like that, and we really have had a rough year in our household, and a lot of things that have gone on, and it's been challenging to be a voice of hope, but it certainly has been a year of lessons and experience. Let's put it that way. So I would say that coming through the last 12 months, I have a lot more experience in life than I would have otherwise had in different angles of it. And it's been an interesting experience for sure. And over the last week is certainly not excluding the interesting part of this experience. So I'm going to share with you a few things. So about, I don't know, a week or so ago, it was probably like the 27th or so of February. I learned that at 52 years old, you don't want to headbutt an inanimate object. And with that headbutt of the inanimate object, not intentionally, I got a nick over my eye over here on this side. Just a little guy, no big deal. And my choice in caring for it was not optimal. And it certainly didn't probably didn't meet any like medical standard, but I did like the quick little butterfly with some old boxing tape, which is probably not the first move you want to make. And that thing must have been loaded with bacteria because within 2 days, I had a massive eye infection, and it led me to the hospital. I'll share with you some pictures if you're a little squeamish or astonished. We will share with you kind of like a freak of nature thing here, but I'm gonna share with you the picture of what I look like last week. So this is me in the hospital with the eye infection that I was self-induced. That was amazing to me that I could look that ugly that quick. Apparently that's what I look like every single morning without a swollen eye. And so we're going to work on that one too. I joke, but it was scary. The reason it was scary is because I'm sitting here thinking, oh my, that my forehead is swollen and everything is pushing down in my eye, and it just was my eye swelling up from maybe the swelling from above my eye because I've been punched before, I've been kicked before in the head. I mean, it sometimes this stuff happens, but this was clearly something more, and my eye was stretching and it was turning yellow and all this other stuff. So I went to the emergency department, and I'm glad I did because it was that was 2 days it blew up like that. They were very concerned and apparently worried about infection going in my brain, my eyeball, all these types of things. And they then made me very scared too about what was going on. So I spent the next 4 days in the hospital going through a number of tests to make sure that it hadn't spread anything anywhere else in my body, and put on a IV antibiotic of vancomycin for, I don't know, 2.5 days or so, and then they switched me over to another antibiotic, and so on and so forth until I was able to be discharged. On the last day, I'd put on these red socks, and I thought, and around in the red socks and around the red socks, I was starting to get this little rash, and I thought it was just because it was the socks, and maybe it was irritating my skin or whatever. Who knows? Maybe it was just, I didn't know what was going on. So I just took the socks off. They noticed it and gave me this topical cream to ease the itch. So I appreciated the ease the itch. But there was clearly more to the story than that. So when I came home, I noticed that this was starting to progress up my legs and getting worse. And it was getting significantly worse within a day. And by the end of the day, on February 29th-ish, I think that was the day it was. I'll switch it. Sorry for the dramatic pause. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm just having a hard time switching things over back to the normal Chris's technology problems. My leg, it's not a very good shot of it, but you can see all this stuff, all these sores. This was in one day progressed from my ankle line all the way up over to my lower back and the front of my stomach. And my feet and ankles were swelling up at such a rate that they were like balloons here. My knees, I was almost immobile. So I started to be concerned about that because I thought, I'm not a doctor, but my first guess was like, are my arteries blowing up from being, an alcoholic and, having all these days of IV testing or IV treatment. So we went through I went back to my doctor and come to find out I have an allergy to an antibiotic. And did not know that. And so it was a very severe allergy, the antibiotic. So this is all going on in my life right there. Now, I'm not sharing this with you to share this dramatic hospital story, but I've got other things related to it. So in our life, also at the same time, we've had some tumultuous situations in our home, and to say the least. And we've got some circumstances here that are very hard to deal with, and I would say probably would stretch your heart to a way that you just it's sometimes hard to even cope with. And that has been another portion of this. So I have this significant health concern. On the day I'm discharged from the hospital, I have this heart-wrenching event happen, and then and then just a small sting, the hot water heater went out, and there's just a number of other things that were happening around the same time. So why am I getting into all this stuff? Well, it really goes back to, I don't know if you guys recall the turkey story that I've told you guys before in November of 2017. This season of life, I don't know why I feel confident that it's worthwhile. And I don't know why it is that I'm feeling like this is a very valuable season for me to go through. I'm not sure why it is I feel so confident it's going to turn out okay. And because normally, under normal circumstances, with all this stuff going on, you really start getting defeated and depressed and all this stuff. Now, I've had moments of depression through this time, and fear and all those other things, but it hasn't been the predominant feeling. There's been a predominant feeling of, let's make some progress here. And so if you recall the story that I talked about with the turkey, it was November of 2017. I was incarcerated, and I was 2 months sober. And at that point in time, I had felt kind of that pink cloud, like, man, I'm going to do this. I was there was like a 6 months jail sentence, which really wasn't a big deal at all. But it was through the holidays, which made it a little more tough. But I remember being pretty good. And then through the slot, they gave me this dried turkey, this crappy peas, and this potatoes. And I remember everything in my world just crushing down looking at this turkey. And in my book, the very first line, who knew a turkey could make you so sad? And the reason I emphasize this is because in that moment, there are decisions to make. Now, the reason I was so sad is because I had left my kids at home alone with their dad during Thanksgiving. I knew that I would be leaving them home alone, during Christmas. I would not be there for, probably, I was out by Easter. But, there was a season that they missed holidays with me. And then there was also the rebuilding all those years after that. So they'd gone through the ringer, and it finally, just because I was feeling good about my sobriety, I was reminded in that moment, I'd still left a trail of destruction. Just because I feel good that I'm doing better today doesn't mean I hadn't hurt all those people behind me. Doesn't mean I hadn't hurt them for years before and wasn't going to cause them struggles years forward. So in that lesson that I went through, and I saw that turkey come through the slot, the gravity of what I'd done, I'd really become sad. And so in that moment, this may not seem like a big deal to you, but it was really powerful for me. I had an opportunity. I could either go back to my bunk, lay down and sulk, or cry, or be depressed. I could go out in the yard and take it out on everybody else. I've seen a lot of guys take depression out on everybody else. I could make my cellie nuts. I could fuss and blame everybody else in the sun for why I'm there to just justify so I don't feel so bad. Or I could eat the turkey and just go about my business and make progress in that moment. That example for me is what gets me through today, what gets me through this tough time now. Now, in the past, I've talked about the fact that I believe in the recovery journey, that we learn a lot of the same lessons over and over again. It's just that we go through these times where we got to learn them through tougher seasons, because we must continue to build our toolkit with better tools. So if you think of it like the example I've used before, and this came from my first sponsor, if you think about it like a mound and you keep shaving over this mound, so the first time you go through that mound early on in recovery, you're just taking the grass down, so you only need a lawnmower. The next time through, maybe you're going to take a little bit of the topsoil off, so you just want to scrape that down with another tool. When you start getting down in the real grind of it, you better have some large, heavy equipment to be able to take care of this hill. That may be the same lesson, but it's got a more grit to it. It requires more from you to get through it, Maybe the lesson's more tough, but you're going to be more fortified in what you've learned. So the next time you go through, you know you're more confident. Now, if you shy away from that lesson, you're going to keep being faced with that over and over and over and over. And so what fear does a lot of times, it stops us from going through the fire, biting down on the mouthpiece and getting through your storm. Nobody said this life was going to be easy. Nobody said all seasons of life were going to be easy. This one for me is not. It's exhausting. But what I've learned in the past, that if I go through it and if I face it with my higher power, who is God, and if I call on him and focus on him first, and if I understand that if I accept that pain is my pathway to peace sometimes, and if I realize that in circumstances that if I go through, I'll get through, then I go forward. And I don't shy back from them. I just understand that today is just one more pass over the hill with a lesson that apparently I need to be fortified on, because what I have noticed is that when you get back over that hill, it's just not this life of constant grind, because when you go through that, you've got more tools to fortify somebody else in their journey, which gives you more power, which fortifies the world around you and fortifies the people around you and your family and your resolve to stay sober and strong in your life. Now, I wish I wasn't going through what we're going through right now, and I certainly didn't want that hospital stay. And let me tell you something. A reaction to my antibiotic was itchy, painful, and ridiculous. And the circumstance in our home is heart-wrenching. That's all I can tell you. So, but what's my choice? Well, I have plenty. I could crumble in a ball. I could wallow in this pain. I could fall back and blame everybody around me. I could just be a miserable cuss and just be cranky with everybody else I want to be. Or I could find a way to go forward, determine I will, not want to, I will, and find a path forward that says, okay, we're going to get through this one way or another. I don't know how, but I got a great king before me that leads me. And I got the will behind me that says I'm going to follow his lead, because I don't think he's ever going to lead me in a situation that if I follow his path, that's going to lead me astray. And I also know from the principles of my recovery that the steps that got me there are going to get me there. Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in here today. I'll stay in touch with you, more going forward. It's just been one of those challenging seasons. It's been hard to kind of stay consistent with this, but I hope this is encouraging you today. I'm not looking for any sympathy whatsoever, because I believe this is just part of my journey. I'm thankful for it. And there's some gratitude that I have that I get to go through this journey, because I know on the other side, there's going to be some greatness that's exciting to experience. And I can look back on it and say, I did that. I appreciate you guys very much. I've got a few things now recently that I'm looking to, if you guys are interested, we've got Chris and Retro mugs. I beta tested a Chris and Retro hat. If you guys are interested in those types of things, let me know your interest level. I'll determine whether, that's something I end up by, making available to the public. But those are things I've just tried to test market and see what you guys think about those things. Got a couple giveaways that are going to be coming up throughout early in the spring to generate some interest in the show again. And, but I'm thankful for you guys and your interest in staying here. I don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but I haven't really lost any subscribers through it. We've got some other projects coming on that we'll coexist with. I am you, you are me. I'll be doing with Congressman Reed. That I'll be representing Chris and Retro on that project. It's not a separate project from Chris and Retro. It's just we're participating in something that he's working on, and so you'll see more about that. But if you're going through a hard time like I am, or if you're going through any season that's difficult, or you just don't understand what's going on, and you're afraid and you just keep staying back and you wonder why every single day doesn't provide progress, or maybe you just keep going through this repeat season over and over and over again. Perhaps you never really bit down on the mouthpiece and got through it the first time. Maybe you never really gathered the tools and fortified yourself in that season to make sure that the next time you faced it, you had everything you needed to get through it. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know for sure, but maybe. So how about this? You and I, in our hard time, we're going to bite down on our mouthpiece and we're going to go through it. We're not going to we may be afraid, but we've decided that fear is a veil. We know fear is something that's going to try to stop us from moving forward. Chances are it's making us think of the worst possible scenario, and 9 times out of 10, that scenario is not going to happen. the worst calamity, the worst possible outcome. It always stops us and it makes us depressed and it makes us stop going forward. I would say forget that. Just if you got to close your eyes and clench your fists and just run through the fire, do it. I'll do it with you. I got to do it for me. You do it with you, and let's see what happens on the other side. Thanks for tuning in. Between now and the next time we talk, please stay out of trouble.